Proceeds to sickbay. The doctor should look at it as soon as possible.
It is the way in which we propagate our species.
Please demonstrate how this is accomplished.
So, what's next?
I don't know.
Hi, and welcome to Casual Trek, a Star Trek recap and ranking podcast brought to you by Nerd and Tie and Prison Gun. Stuck in a prison and need a gun? Buy our handy kit and build your own. I'm Charlie Etheridge Nunn. I'm a writer and a Legend for Five Rings fan.
And I am Mars Reed Lobato. I am a writer, a Lone Wolf and Cub fan, and a proud sponsor of Prison Gun. I'm not just a sponsor, I'm also a buyer.
Well, you never know when you'll need it.
I live in America. Let's
Wow. Okay. Each episode, we watch stories from different Star Trek shows. We rank them on a big list of best to worst. We both love Star Trek, but it's far from our first fandom, which makes us the ultimate objective voices on such a task. And this episode, it's time to shout Qapla'!
Qapla'!
Why, we're looking at Worf, one of the most prolific characters in all of Star Trek. Miles, why don't you explain to the audience why we're doing Worf?
Okay, well, unfortunately, all jokes aside, recently a fellow Nerd and Tie member and good personal friend Celeste suffered a personal tragedy, and I was asked by Celeste's partner if we could consider doing an episode about Worf, because Worf and DS9 was Celeste's favorite Star Trek character and show. So this episode is dedicated to Greg, a guy I met once, but I spent a good chunk of that time in a truck with him talking about rock gigs we both gone to, and that's pretty awesome.
Well, I believe that was the good deed of helping folks move that you mentioned episodes ago.
Yup, if you are a follower of the deep casual Trek lore, that was the time I generally did go and do a Starfleet.
Wow. And yeah, so this is in memory of Greg. And we will scream to honor the dead, probably off air, admittedly, because people don't need that in their ears.
No, but you're in Brighton. People scream to honor the dead all the time.
I mean, they just scream.
Oh, yeah.
So, so yeah, I feel that's fine to leave. It's right. I walk past London Road every day. There is always someone screaming at something, often the road. And as a listener to the Silk Verses, I do wonder, are they going to manifest a god out of the road if they keep doing it? Anyway, before we go on.
The god of the viaduct.
Oh dear, yes. The lobster-faced god. It lives in the bins where people tip out their fag ash outside of every pub. Anyway, before we go on, what non-Star Trek thing have you been enjoying since we last spoke?
Well, yesterday I went to the cinema and I enjoyed the 50th anniversary rescreening of The Exorcist, directed by William Friedkin. And
God, you've got some good cinema action going on around you with Star Trek before and now with this. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, they do. I get a lot of. Do you get a lot of the Fathom events in the UK?
No idea what that is.
Okay, it's like, I think it's just like it's a company which do streaming screening events in cinemas across like America and Canada. So they do a lot of the Riff Tracks live shows. They've done some anime. They're the ones behind who did the Shin Ultraman and Shin Kamen Rider I watched earlier this year. And because it's the 5th anniversary of the Exorcist, and there's a new one coming out this month.
What?
There's a new Exorcist film coming out this month. It's called Believer. I think it's the same people who did the Halloween films. with Jamie Lee, and it looks like they're trying to do that, but with The Exorcist.
Right.
So hopefully, I'm just saying, if we get The Exorcist kills and The Exorcist ends, and they're just as batshit as Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, I would be a happy man. But it was quite funny because I was watching the trailer. I can't remember what film I was going to see, and it was about possession, which you get films about possession every so often, and it kept playing in what sound like the first few bars of Tubular Bells, and I was thinking, this is a bit on the nose. This has to be a bit legally on the nose here, and it's like The Exorcist, Believer. I'm like, oh no. No. That's okay. It can't be as batshit crazy as The Exorcist 2, The Heretic, or Exorcist 3, Legion, which, have you ever seen The Exorcist?
In my secondary school music class, actually.
Wow, that would have been like 97, 98, because actually I was talking about this with my parents, because The Exorcist was a video nasty and banned in the UK until the late 90s.
This was 93, 94.
Yeah,
Mr. Hater was one of those good teachers. He showed us that in 2001 because of the music.
Someone washed her boot. Someone broke the law.
A whole class. It's fine.
That's brilliant. I watched the film a few years ago for the first time in since the 90s re-release, and I think this time watching it on the big screen really brought across the viscerality of the horror, because admittedly, when it comes to The Exorcist and it comes to demon possession movies, since I've never been someone of faith, a huge part of the horror I don't think affects me, because it's just it's a demon. This isn't real. But when it comes to the more visceral horror scenes, it was really good. It really makes me miss realistic and naturalistic lighting and filming in Hollywood, because when you watch a 70s film, when you watch a 70s film, it looks like the world outside in all its gritty, grimy 70s glory. So that was The Exorcist.
Nice.
Exorcist 2 was written and directed by John Borman, who gave us a little piece of cinematic wonder called Zardoz. And then Exorcist 3 is okay, but it's one of those films which was really heavily messed about with in post-prod. So it's and it has Brad Dourif.
Ooh, okay, there's
and guess what? He plays a moist serial killer.
His perfect role.
I really want to see him do the Hugh Grant role in a charming rom-com. I want to see Brad Dourif do that.
Oh, I've started rewatching Deadwood, and he's so good in it. And he is, slightly moist, but he's still mostly just a good egg there.
Oh.
Yeah.
The rare,
so such a joy.
The rare non-villainous Brad Dourif cinematic role.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, Deadwood's a fantastic show anyway, but Brad Dourif just adds more to it.
All right. So, Charlie, what non-Star Trek thing have you been watching since the last episode?
Well, I was going to bring up a card game that's been in my thoughts a lot called Earthborn Rangers, but I've barely played it. Instead, yesterday, Emma and I watched a film by a little-known filmmaker. It's a Martin Scorsese.
Martin Scorsese.
Yeah, him.
Him. He's the guy who keeps complaining about Marvel movies, so Twitter hates him.
Oh yeah, I hadn't seen whatever his MCU debut was. So obviously, I don't know who he is.
I think he was Night Nurse.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, we watched Goodfellas.
Oh,
which It's been a while since I've seen Goodfellas. I used to have it on VHS back in the day.
I have never seen Goodfellas. I keep meaning to go back to my watching of all of Scorsese's films, which
Yeah.
I started, but then kind of life got in the way. I'm very wary of Goodfellas because it's like 2-3 hours. It's a long one.
It's a couple hours, but it's a good one. And it's one of
Okay.
those things where you start watching a film and yeah, it's by a worthy filmmaker and yeah, it's got all these people that are going to go on and do all sorts of like big films and they all look so young. And a lot of them are just going to be Sopranos actors. And it's just a good film. It's just like, oh yeah, this isn't like there's no sudden here's a take that's gonna revolutionize. I'm gonna reappraise all of this in so no, like
No.
it's just a good film. Like the characters are shits because it's about the mafia,
Yeah,
but that's
that's fine.
exactly the subject matter. There's a tiny Christopher from Sopranos. Melfi plays Ray Liotta's wife in it. Oh, and Ray Liotta, like, does he have a really sinister laugh? Because every time he does a laughing expression in this film, either he's acting the most like awful, this is what a boy king would look like if he was torturing his least favorite jester, kind of a laughing expression, like a Joffrey Baratheon laughing face. And I've never seen Ray Liotta's laugh before, or at least never taken note of it. But the next film I see with him in, I'm gonna have to pay attention. Like I think he was in the Name of a King: A Dungeon Siege Tale, that timeless classic. But I forget what he was like in that.
I think he was in an Ice Age.
Yeah, that's going to be difficult to gauge what his face was like. But yeah, it's if you've not seen Goodfellas, I very much recommend Goodfellas. It's um like a lot of things ripped it off because of course they did. Like the
Hmm.
Mafia video games pretty much wholesale ripped off massive chunks of it. The Animaniacs, of course, had their Good Feathers kind of pigeons
Yeah.
doing Goodfellas bits, and a lot of people cast Joe Pesci in basically exactly the role Joe Pesci played in this. But yeah, it's just
You
a
know,
fucking good
some
film.
some actors have a type and they do it well. Like
Yeah.
Vincent Price
Mm.
or Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
Although I always remember Joe Pesci from the Home Alone movies.
Oh god, perfect casting there
Oh
again.
yeah.
And yeah, I think it's one of those things where Emma and I are watching it and go, we really should see more Scorsese movies. Like we've seen a bunch, but it's just again, you feel like as much as I like a lot of modern films, that sense of geography in place, the fact that
I
people aren't all like dehydrated buff guys, that you got some doughy folks, you got some weird gangly folks.
we're both buff and dehydrated right now.
Obviously, yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, on terms of that, I do recommend The King of Comedy. If you
Mm,
want to see De Niro play kind of a schlubby loser,
yeah.
it's really fun. It's weird to watch The King of Comedy and Taxi Driver almost back to back
Ooh,
because
yeah.
he goes from schlubby nobody to Travis Bickle.
Yeah. There's a brilliant, horrifying role.
Yeah, Shutter Island, fun, not great,
I
but
liked it.
it does have Leonardo DiCaprio machine gun Nazis, and if that's your
Mm,
criteria for what is a good film these days, then there we go.
yeah, have at it.
Yeah. All right. I guess we better talk about Star Trek.
We probably best had.
So, Charlie,
Yeah.
what is your opinion on Mr. Worf?
So, Mr. Worf is someone who I think I enjoy a lot more when I see him than if I'm idly thinking about him. Worf often feels like Mr. No Fun. We all know the stereotype of, oh yeah, he's just there to get beaten up by a big villain.
He,
And
he
of
has
course,
a he has a TV trope named after him.
Exactly. And of course, he married Jazdia Dax, a thing that we all can't do because she's fictional. So obviously, there's an amount of either ambivalence or general, extremely low key negative feelings towards him.
Yeah.
But sometimes you watch an episode and go, okay, I get it. Okay. Like, there are some friends of mine who, in role playing groups, would always be the Worf. And you'd go, like, oh, I don't know what to do with this as the GM. This isn't very interesting, but it's very, like, the backbone.
Yeah.
You kind of need some of those.
It gives you a dynamic.
Yes, yeah, and yeah. In tonight's offerings, it's really interesting seeing what is done with him, both in his early days in TNG and his early days in Deep Space Nine. And I think I came away, especially with the DS9 episodes, with a lot more of an appreciation. And with the TNG one, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I feel sometimes he's the Klingon that is less fun. You see Gowron, and he's a crazy motherfucker. He's just ludicrous, and there are so many Klingons where you go, these guys are drunk all the time. They are just having a fun time with it.
Klingons generally are a race which go up to 11,
Mm.
whereas Worf is always set at a very awkward number 7.
Yeah,
Like, he's like, while all the other Klingons are just kind of dancing around and getting into fights, Worf's that guy at a party who's just standing in the corner with like a white wine spritzer, trying really hard not to be seen.
yeah. It's like, given his upbringing, given how he was raised, he's read about Klingons in official texts, either from the Federation talking about them, or the Klingons trying to sound all serious and highfalutin about themselves, and he's not realised. Oh, it's just chaos.
Yeah.
Like, these are like, sometimes they can be dangerous Vikings. Other times they're kind of cuddly metalheads.
Yeah, like I really enjoyed him in Picard, where he's basically old man Zen Worf, and that was also a lot of fun.
Yes, yeah. I'm always wary of those 20-year later sequel kind of
Yeah.
things where characters are just in stasis, or they're in stasis, but also their life has gone badly for these last few years, which is why you need a kind of sequel series to pick it up, and nothing's really changed. But actually going, yeah, Wolf, he got into the intelligence department, and he's kind of chilled, but still, he can still do his violence. He's one of the weirder people to put in intelligence, given he'll show up and go, "Hello, I'm a spy. I'm doing all of this."
He's like the James Bond level of spy, which is the spy you would not have do any kind of espionage, because he'll quite literally cut someone's head off on a covert mission.
Yeah, the spies work around this.
Yeah, he's the big distraction for the actual spies to do the actual spy work done. But no, like Worf, he's never been my favorite. He was never really my favorite character because, like you said, he's just kind of there.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. Like, for me, it was often the nerds. It was LaForge and Data hanging out doing an engineering downstairs a bit, rather than hang around on the bridge firing the gun.
Like, and once you see like the video kind of cut mashup of all the times when Worf suggests they attack, and then immediately cuts to Picard going, "No, let's not do that."
See, you kind of want the Shax's best day sort of thing of going, Worf, go on, just this time for you.
Worf wants to eject the warp core so badly.
Oh God, he'd love it.
Worf would just want to crash a shuttlecraft into another spaceship.
Don't we all?
Yeah, kind of. Okay. So, with that in mind, our first episode tonight is Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 20, Heart of Glory. Teleplay by Maurice Hurley. Story by Maurice Hurley, Herbert Wright, and DC Fontana. and directed by Rob Bowman. It aired the 21st of March, 1988. And Charlie,
Oh God.
why don't you tell us what songs were number one in both the US and the UK?
I'm so
The
sorry.
results will surprise you.
The UK's number one hit was "I Should Be So Lucky" by Kylie Minogue, a classic, one which I'm sure all of you are hearing in your heads right now. And yeah, even worse is
Don't-
Kylie's fine, but
Kylie's fine. Like, it's bright late 80s pop.
yeah, I kind of prefer later Kylie, but yeah, it's all right. But yeah, the US, yeah.
Charlie,
Mm.
just so you know, I'm never gonna give you up. I try my best not to let you down, and I will try my best not to run around and desert you.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
The US number one hit was Rick Astley with "Never Gonna Give You Up." Oh my god, I saw these and was immediately like, yeah, I don't need to listen to these.
Worf rickrolled us. That's what he did.
Yeah, this is it for my relative ambivalence about Worf. This is what happens. So yes, so I am going to be providing a recap for this one.
Okay, all right, 5 minutes. Ready, set, engage.
So, there's a battle going on in the neutral zone. That's not very neutral, is it? The Enterprise shows up and sees a lot of wreckage. Is it the Romulans? Is it Ferengi, who we're still trying to make sound like a credible threat at this point? Let's have a look and find out. Riker thinks it's a trap. Not that that's going to stop him. He just wants it to make him look like he's a harder person than he is. Data, Riker, and LaForge beam down, and LaForge is testing a weird transmitter from his visor that goes all the way up the ship. It's basically kind of freaky, and I can't imagine how anyone would live like this normally. But Picard says to himself quietly, "Now I'm beginning to understand him." There's a lot of dry ice in the wreck of the ship, and it's beginning to lose integrity. Transmissions get all rough as they close in on the warp core, and Riker gets Data to force a door open because he ain't doing the manual labor himself. What's behind it? It's Klingons! Worf hears this and does a dramatic turn to camera. I've realised turning to camera doesn't really transmit on a podcast, so I'm just going to carry on. There's only 3 survivors for Klingons, and one of them, he's not looking so good. So much so, he's not even going to get a name. Or at least I don't think he gets one. There's a fake out where it looks like everyone didn't beam out in time and the ship exploded, but they did, of course. Picard and Worf head to sickbay to find out what's up with these Klingons. And apparently they entered the neutral zone by accident, fighting some Ferengi. Cough. Worf, like the audience, has doubts about this, and the Klingons instead just boast about their battle. The 2 that are still with us are Qo'noS and Konmul, and they leave their mate in sickbay. Worf decides it's time to hang out with the lads, and they start mocking him for, being a soft Federation boy. He gets angry, and they're chuffed about this. They love that there's still some actual Klingon going on in there. Where there isn't some Klingon going on is in the body of the unconscious one. He's taking a turn for the worse and dies. But as he passes away, Qo'noS and Konmul look into his eyes and give a big old scream. And Worf, looking a little awkward for a bit of a second there, joins in as well, because this is obviously the done thing. Konmul regrets that his mate didn't die in combat like he could have. And Worf is like, have you guys been battling anyone? And they quickly deflect and ask about his upbringing. Apparently, he was found after a Romulan attack on Khitomer, where the Accords came from. And they want to know about his fights and if he's worth joining the gang, as they're kind of in need of a third now. And they're rebelling against the Klingon Empire as they feel they've gone a bit soft. Turns out that battle, right at the start of this recap, it was against their own people. What dicks. Somehow after this, they still get a lovely tour of the ship with Worf, because he's booked it in and it'd let everyone down otherwise. Picard expresses some of his concerns about seeing Worf with the other Klingons because, they've not spent much time with Worf, let alone Worf and the other Klingons, who everyone's still a bit on edge around. Data points out this is probably the first time outsiders have seen the Klingon death scream and explains that it's to warn the dead about the new arrival. The Klingon Fuzz have shown up and they want Qo'Nos and Conmel to be turned over to them. Currently, they're getting a tour of the space around the battle bridge, which we all forgot after our encounter at Farpoint. Tasha gets sent down to bring the lads in safely, and right at the worst moment, a child runs out of the turbo lift in pretty much into Qo'Nos's arms as a hostage. He lets her go, and the emergency's over. Off to jail with them. Tasha says, "Oh, I thought it was all going to kick off," and Worf mentions, "Actually, Klingons don't take hostages." Obviously. Picard tells Worf he's been ordered to hand the lads over, and we all know that means their death. Kenora of the Klingon Filth calls, and Worf chimes in, going, "Look, could they be punished instead of killed? Maybe send them off to die like warriors." And Kenora gets it. It's sympathetic, but he's still got a job to do, and that involves executing these guys. The lads in jail, they build a really ugly gun using some DIY skills. They break out and a shootout ensues. The security guy dies, as does Conmel, which, I guess he died how he wanted to go. Qo'Nos, on the other hand, flees all the way to engineering. He says he's only going to speak to Worf and points his gun at the warp core. Worf comes down to see him, and Qo'Nos is like, "Hey, new best friend. Now we stand a chance."
So close. So close.
Well.
Okay, while we're here, was it me, or did Conmel look a bit like Bill Bailey as a Klingon?
Oh, I mean, I feel Bill Bailey's always had that Klingon vibe to him anyway. But yeah, more so than most.
All right, okay. Now, before the Klingon Popo come and take us away and executed, I am starting the stopwatch. You can finish off the recap now.
Yeah, so Qo'Nos and his new BFF in his mind, good old Mr. Worf. Yeah, now they stand a chance. They could steal the battle bridge and use it to roam the galaxy. And Worf is not down with this at all. Of course he's not. He draws his phaser, explains Klingons need to fight their fights inside, not outside. Do the fighting in your heart. And Qo'Nos is like, "Oh, that's not the Klingon ways." Worf fires on him, and Qo'Nos falls dramatically through the glass by the warp core, down to the floor to his death. Worf screams a warning to the dead that, "Hey, you got a real one coming through." And Picard calls it in, and Worf explains, "Don't worry, the lad's died well." He gets a job offer for when he's done serving his time on the Enterprise, and he says he'll consider it, but after hanging up, he does tell Picard, "Don't worry, I was just being polite. I'm still one of you guys." And Picard's like, good. The Enterprise wouldn't be the same without you. So yeah, the end.
1 minute and 11 seconds.
I'm trying to remember how they treated Worf in season 1, aside from just another part of the furniture. But this felt more than the others like we don't know where we stand. Like, we've invited this Klingon on board. Do any of us actually know what he's like?
Worf, I think until Tasha dying really gives Worf something. Like, Worf is always just kind of, he's there to get thrown about. He's there to get punched. He's basically like, what if Red Shirt had a name and a character bio?
Yeah, and didn't die when you flung him about. Yeah, like I remember Injustice, where he was there just to be kind of, I disapprove of this in a surly fashion, and that was about it. But here, it does feel like that kind of, we've made a truce with an enemy people, and we've got one on board. We've not really thought it through. Like, does anyone know his birthday? Does anyone know what music he likes? Like, no one remembered to ask, and now
I think like the genesis of Worf came about pretty late in production.
Yeah.
Like, I think the story is that David Gerrold suggested that they have a crewman be a Klingon to show how times have changed between the old show and a new show.
Oh, and it's
And
a great thing to do.
it's a great thing, and it's it is like I think this sets up the template for Worf as a character, and then unfortunately this is the template that nearly every Worf centric story is going to be, which is Worf essentially looking at the Klingons and going, "Man, you guys kind of suck, but
Yeah, well,
you're my dudes, so I've got to stand by you."
I heard an interview of Armin Shimmerman saying about the way that Ferengi were early in TNG, he felt was his fault. And he did a lot of work to try and remedy in DS9, especially when he found that a lot of other Ferengi actors were having to use him as a template and what he did. And that kind of, oh God, they weren't supposed to be as much for joke as I made them kind
Yeah.
of thing. And this feels a bit similar of we see this in season 1 and this is the plot. Like when we see it more interacting with the Klingon Empire properly rather than these, a couple of bad ones who popped along and went, "Oh, the Empire's not a real Klingon. Oh, you're not a real Klingon." All of that. It's interesting seeing a level of tentative acceptance, but it's still very much this plot.
I think most until like we get the big Klingon politics stories later on in TNG, like the Klingons were mostly just they were the baddie. Like
Yeah.
like that's their role in like the movie, like the early films. You got like eventually we'll get to Search for Spock,
Mm.
where Christopher Lloyd
Oh.
relishes playing the bad guy Klingon. So yeah, I think like we're seeing what's going to be picked up later,
Mm.
but it's still kind of weird because it's not been put into any real details. It's like, oh, the Klingons are our allies now. What that means is going to change. Like when you had the screen when it cuts to like the Klingon captain who is very clearly having a sly smoke, but between video calls, because you can see the smoke coming from his cigarette down, like below the screen, and they've got like the Federation badge and the Klingon badge like behind him, and I think this is the only time we see it.
Yeah, it felt like that kind of he's one of those border patrol kind of, again, he's space filth, but for the Klingons going,
Yeah,
let's make sure no one's having a bit of a bust up, that sort of thing.
he's Klingon Dixon of Doc Green.
Yeah, and good for him.
Yeah,
And yeah,
it's a living.
yeah. I mean, even he was like, "Yeah, I feel this, political correctness, not butchering your enemies after a mild argument in a pub. It's gone a bit too far." But I get it. We have to do this, right? We have to respect them not being stabbed with a knife over a spilled pint. It's all right.
Okay, so how many times when watching the episodes we've watched for today did the phrase "Make Qo'NoS Great Again" pop into your mind? Because it was coming to my mind a lot.
Oh, for this one, definitely.
Definitely.
Oh my word!
Like
These
are
guys who
red
like,
hat Klingons.
they definitely are. These are like proper Kronos pilled. Like they are all over that sort of thing.
Kling pilled.
Oh, that sounds
Wrong,
bad.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the other big thing that I noticed with this, I watched these episodes in reverse order. So I
Same.
saw Heart of Glory second because it was the one I knew I needed to concentrate and write more detailed notes for. And going almost immediately from Way of the Warrior to this, my word, Worf's makeup has changed.
Yeah, I think it helps that Michael Dawn kind of probably starts definitely bulks up between seasons 1 and 2.
Oh, him being a bit of a bigger, swoller guy by where we see him in Way of the Warrior is it feels very much like he's filled out into Worf. But also, like I think it was on one of the discords I'm on, or no, it was on Blue Sky. Someone pointed out that apparently the forehead prosthetic went missing in after season 1, the one that he uses here, where it feels like his forehead is a bit too big for the rest of his head. And I can only assume it was a Michael Dorn from the future traveling back in time to lose it so that
Lose-
he gets the much cooler looking forehead that he will get
Yeah.
later on. Because, yeah, it looks a bit awkward.
Like, I think this is one of the better season 1. Like, we've seen quite a few season 1 episodes of TNG, and I think this is definitely they've started to kind of get what the show is, and not just trying to rehash the original Trek. Although I'm gonna say this, that prison gun.
Oh my word. I loved it.
Like, I was watching, like, I could literally see them trying not to break the prop. And I think I texted you while I was watching this going, this makes the guns from Blake 7 look like fucking Star Wars. Because, like, you got the two little pieces, the two little pieces of dowling wood, which they painted green to be like the barrel of the sinister death gun.
Gun that shoots green. Yeah,
and it's quite clearly, okay, you need to hold this in, or else it's gonna pop out and ruin the take.
I loved that gun. Like, I've grown increasingly more thrilled about, like, not going hipster. Oh yes, I like seeing real sets and real props. Give me the shit looking ones. Like, I'm good with them too.
See,
like,
honestly, watching classic Doctor Who, and I'm talking about, I'm nearly at the end of the bloody Sensorites.
Okay.
For classic
That
Who.
feels like it's taken a while.
Yeah, it's boring. It's the fun I love from classic Who, and I think the thing that the new show misses in trying to be more like, because in trying to be more big budget, this has to look big, this has to look good. We can't have Doctor Who look like a joke. Is that it misses the theatrical camp of we have a washing up liquid bottle and some sticky back plastic. We're going to make a space empire out of this. And that's why I love when they're clearly having to work with what they've got.
I think immersion is often something that is unnecessarily lent on. Watching Goodfellas, there are some freeze frame moments, and there's a brilliant sequence where a camera goes through a bar and everyone's saying hi to the character, but it's to us, the camera, as it very obviously dollies around the bar. And it's like listening to some arguments about tabletop RPGs and about people go, oh no, if you're metagaming, you're ruining the experience. Like, actually, mate, it's still part of it. Like, oh my god, I was tricked into thinking I was in the fiction. No, enjoy the fiction and the artifice. Enjoy the fake swooshy doors, the boxy gun. The theatricality is part of the fiction and part of the fun.
I'm all about verisimilitude, but also I think something not looking like a TV, like what we think real life in the future is going to be. Something just looking like a soundstage, which has been designed. Like, why does the Enterprise bridge look like this? Yeah, it looks cool. It looks high tech. Like, okay, so we're gonna give it carpeting. Yes, we're gonna give it the best carpeting.
Some nice wood paneling.
It's nice wood paneling. It's just like, yeah, you want to build something that looks good and looks entertaining. Like,
look, as long as they sell, basically, it's that. It's sell me the fiction, lie to me convincingly, and I will believe this piece of shit is an actual deadly Klingon gun.
Like, do I think the warp core should be positioned that close to the people working in engineering? No, because there's going to be they probably have to have their sperm checked every couple of months to make sure that something's not gone wrong.
On it.
Yeah, but like, it looks cool, and it looks cool when it basically turns into a hostage situation with the Klingon pointing a gun at the ship's warp core and going, "Don't don't screw with me, man. I'll do it. I'll cut him. I'll really cut him. And then Worf has to go up on the lift and then shoots him. And the guy falls. Like, that is the weakest fucking safety glass. Like,
It
people
really
are walking that, and it just takes a guy falling on it to shatter. It looks cool. It looks cool, but that is an OSHA nightmare.
Oh my god! Imagine if someone just hopped or jumped or anything like that. You'd go
What
right
if you
through.
what if you really needed to pee and we're doing the thing where you're kind of hopping from one leg to the other because you really need to get the lift down, but Geordie's not moving, and you crash through the floor and piss yourself, and also probably severe lacerations. Although the bit at the end when Worf is holding the guy and screaming, and it does the extreme close out.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but think of the Mendoza from The Simpsons whenever it cuts to a McBain movie. Like, that is that pure 80s, you hold a guy and scream, like machismo cheese.
Miles,
Yes.
have you ever held a guy and screamed?
No, I've never held a shotgun here and screamed and gone, arg. Okay. I just want to say, I love at the end when the Klingon captain asks if they died well, and Worf clearly lies. Because Worf didn't want to say, yeah, I shot this guy point blank. Did he die well? He died like a mangy dog in a mound of broken glass.
Oh,
He died fantastically. How did the other guy die? Oh, he got shot escaping arrest.
Yeah, he made it maybe a foot or two out of his jail cell. So, less so for him. I'd give it a D, maybe.
He tried. He gets a participation trophy, but, like, not impressed. Ooh, he could have done better.
He gets to go to the mediocre Klingon Valhalla.
I just want to see the sports commentary. Oh, and he's made it. He's shot the guard. He's made the door. Oh, he got shot and he didn't make it.
Oh, that's a bad hit.
Star Trek fight scene is narrated by grandstand sports commentators.
Oh, that'd be lovely. Right, so Miles.
Yes.
We have a big list of Star Trek shows and a couple of films, and it goes from best to worst, and we need to place this somewhere on that. Now, currently, we are up to 74 episodes. The number one spot is Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, which was just a joy. A very good fun time. We have, let's see, around the halfway point, we've got The Least Dangerous Game for Lower Decks. And right down at the bottom, we have Strange New Worlds' Lift Us, Where Suffering Cannot Reach. I feel the Klingons would have dealt with that situation about the machine that kills a boy to make a city float a bit differently.
Yeah. Not sure how. They probably just killed the boy.
I mean, problem solved, I guess. Bang, city's gonna fall, you're not gonna plug in anymore, boys. Job done. Let's go have drinks. So, as far as where this goes, I've found just above the halfway point is our best rated TNG Season 1 episode, which is Data Lore, which similarly is something that feels kind of important to the future TNG canon. Lore sticks around occasionally. And in this case, Klingon episodes where Worf has to prove his worth and, live that kind of, oh, I'm a being of two worlds sort of thing keeps coming back. So, would you say this is better or worse than Data Lore?
I think it's better. Like, I think it gets to the meat of the episode a lot quicker. Because it's quite obvious from, like, the first 5 minutes that, yeah, these Klingons are bad, it's not going to end well.
Yeah.
Whereas, Laura's just kind of being a sly little bugger. Until he's like, all right, actually, I am in cahoots with the great crystalline entity.
I mean, to be honest, he was a bit of a shit already. The crystalline entity thing won me back over. So, oh fuck, yeah, you worship some kind of weird cosmic being. That's yeah, I'm down for that.
But like,
Um,
I think Datalore has the one thing this episode doesn't have, which is a good someone's arm is on fire stunt.
yeah, that was impressive for season 1 Star Trek.
No one threatens Wesley with death this episode because Wesley's not here, so better or worse, you decide.
And you wouldn't want him around Klingons. Like
No.
he'd do something awful and then get stabbed.
He would trip and fall through the safety glass.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Like, let's see. So above that, we have Genesis, the spider episode, which is a lot of fun. I can admit it's not good, but it is fun. And Worf definitely kills a guy. Again,
See,
which
again.
he did here.
Yeah, but this one he did knowingly.
Yes.
See, I am actually looking at number 30, which is TOS Errand of Mercy, which
Ooh,
was the very first introduction of the Klingons.
yeah.
And I think that here, these Klingons are still in that very kind of much more villainous role than they would later become in this show. But it's still, this is the return of the Klingons. This is the episode we're probably going to hold out for sweeps.
Yep.
Whatever sweeps means. I don't know. I just hear it referred to in American pop culture. I don't know what sweeps actually is. But, like, this is the episode you're going to kind of promote, hey, the Klingons are back. Apart from that one guy who stands in the corner a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. Like, it's almost more interesting seeing the Klingons here as outliers rather than this is just how Klingons are.
Although
And
it's not as homoerotic between Worf and Karras as it is
no,
between Kor and Kor's opinion of Kirk.
that is true. Yeah.
So I might have to put this under, which is oh no,
Yeah.
like that's oh man,
Yeah.
I
Beneath it, we have our Ren Fair spaceship with
Evil Jeffrey Combs robot with man.
I mean, while we've yet to see whether that is a vital, important part of the canon, which I'm sure we all hope it will with an inevitable return of Agamas. Yeah, it's a better episode, even if it is not necessarily a more important episode.
Yeah, and it's good, and I enjoyed it. Like, it's like I enjoyed this episode of television versus I really enjoyed Jeffrey Combs just being slimy.
Oh god, it's so good at it. Okay,
So yeah, I like we have to follow the conceit of the show in which this is this is the ultimate objective list. So this is going to be, I'm going to take the hit, and I'm going to say that this is better than Where Pleasant Fountains Lie.
wow. Okay, yeah, I'm down with that. Yeah, as good as that episode is, this feels like it's some important moments for our boy Worf and for Klingons, like what the state of Klingons is at this point,
and the show.
Yeah,
because like the thing we always have to remember is that these shows are being, these universes are being developed script by script. As much as it's nice to think that everything is kind of this cohesive whole, it's not. And so this is a stepping stone in how we're going to treat and develop the Klingons to the point where they're going to be.
So yeah, I agree. I think one of the reasons I love television shows, much like I love comics, is that ongoing nature where creators are figuring it out on the fly and they're having to crib from other people's work. So it's not just a single voice, single mind. You're having to figure out and play with all of these tools is kind of fascinating. So that makes it our new number 31, Heart of Glory. So next up we have Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Season 4, Episodes 1 and 2. That's right. The rest of this episode of Casual Trek is all dedicated to a single story here, and it is Way of the Warrior. It was written by Ira Stephen Bear and Robert Hewitt Wolfe. It was directed by James L. Conway, and it aired on the 2nd of October 1995. The UK and US #1 hits seem specifically targeted to torment me, as when I was staying in Manchester with my BFF Adam's aunts, the younger of the aunts would constantly, endlessly play these specific 2 tracks all the time. While we were trying to read some Legionnaires comics we'd bought from 20p bins, while we were trying to come up with our own comic company, which I was a cool teen. I basically spent my teenage years trying to be a comic company modelled after the 90s Marvel, which we didn't realise was bankrupt or rapidly heading that way.
Hang on, financially bankrupt or morally bankrupt?
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. The UK.
Okay, all right. What? You can't leave me hanging. What was the name of your nascent comic company in the 90s?
So it is 1, the most 90s, and 2, one of the many reasons I am not a fan of Mr. Robert Liefeld, because we were going to be awesome comics. And then that fucker picked Awesome Entertainment. And it's like bad enough that his art has politely never been for me. But also that it's like, oh, you bastard. Oh.
See, I think you should call it, I think it should have been Too Many Teeth comics. Or Where's the Spine?
So, the UK #1 hit was Simply Red with Fairground, which again, I've heard so many times it's lodged in my brain, and Mariah Carey's Fantasy, which, again, like with Kylie, there's some Mariah Carey that it's like, yeah, that's decent.
Yeah.
And this also lodged endlessly in my brain. So I didn't need to do any of the listening prior to this. And yeah, hopefully one day, weeks from now, both will have left my brain again, at least for a time. Anyway, we're not here to talk about this, are we? This is
we're not a Mariah Carey podcast.
No. So Miles, I believe you're recapping this for us.
I am. No, so you're not allowed to say awesome. You're British.
I'm British, but I worked in a comic shop and was around way too much American vowel speak. So awesome and all of those kind of things I use way too much.
It's a word the colonials use, and we shall not go there.
Ah. Okay, well, are you going to wow us with an awesome recap?
Oh, it'll be radical.
Sweet. So, Miles, how long do you want for this, given it's a 2-parter?
Normally it's 10 minutes. We do 10 minutes for the films.
I think we do 10 for the films, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to stick with that. That would be bitchin'.
Okay, that's hyper rad, dude.
That's a 10-4, good buddy.
Okay. Yeah, well, hit it.
Okay, Sleazoids. We have Kieran Reese and Captain Benjamin Sisko marching down a corridor. Benjamin looks different. Does he have a new tie? No, he shaved his head. He has now lost his that lovely head of hair, and he's now full slaphead.
Nice.
He and Kira march into a room and start zapping everything in the room. They're on the hunt for something, and that hunt is a really nice throw pillow. Oh, no, wait, that's not a throw pillow. That's a changeling. It's turned to a bird, and it's flying away to the promenade. The promenade is filled with security officers, and also Bashir, and they're all armed with rifles. And Bashir takes point, because Bashir always takes point, and he gets grabbed by, it's a changeling. Oh, no, wait, it's Odo. It turns out that this was all a drill, and it took them 3 hours to catch Odo, which Odo was like, not good enough. Any one of my people are better than shapeshifting than me. If they got on a station, they could cause so much damage. So the drills will continue until Odo's morale improves. Meanwhile, Cassidy Yates, who is Sisko's on-again, off-again girlfriend, who was introduced to him by his son Jake, not in this episode, yeah, they're just kind of chilling. Sisko's got this really nice Jason is Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat kind of clothes going on. That was definitely awesome. And then he's called back up to the to ops because wait, we've got some Klingon ships. They're on maneuvers, and they're led by a General Martok who seems zesty and full of life. And it's not just one ship or two ships; it's quite a lot of ships. And so, Deep Space Nine now has a Klingon problem, but also a new intro, which is not a problem. Although I do kind of miss the much more somber tune from seasons 1 to 3. Although this one is a bit more nice and upbeat. We get to see the Defiant. The Klingons are kind of just going around and they're causing trouble by in their own imitable way. Martok meets Sisko and Kira and immediately pulls out a knife and then slices his hand open and lets his blood drip on the table because we've established that changelings don't bleed like regular solid people, and that's how, it's kind of the Thing style blood test. And so he wants to make sure that everyone else is changelings. Not that Martok is going to be revealed to be a changeling next season. No. Kira and Sisko, they slice their hands in their own way. For Kira, this is probably Tuesday. And it turns out that the Klingons are really up on protecting the Alpha Quadrant from the Dominion. And, they're up to something, but we don't know what. Meanwhile, the Klingons are harassing Morn, one of Quark's regulars. And, just kind of getting under everyone's skin. Meanwhile, Odo and Garak are having lunch. Or breakfast, it's one of those ones. And Odo is showing off this new trick where he can shapeshift his hand into a coffee cup, and then he can refill it and empty it at will because it's still part of his body. This is violating the sacred code of the bottomless cup of coffee, dude. I hope you're paying Quarkage for that, because that'd be unfair to Quark otherwise. Oh, what am I saying?
Quarkage!
There
Yes!
we go! Yes! Awesome. So he's definitely not paying Quarkage. The Klingons antagonize Odo, and then Garak kind of, is snide to the Klingons. And then the Klingons meet Garak in his tailor shop and beat him up, resulting in one of my favorite lines in the entirety of Star Trek, when Bashir tells Garak that they've broken 3 of his ribs, and Garak simply responds, but I let off several insults which be very damaging to their egos, which love a good snark line. The Klingons are also really occupied with something going on Cardassia, but Cardassia has sealed the borders, and everyone is assuming it's because of fear of the Dominion. Cassidy Yates' ship is attacked by Klingons who want to check her ship for changelings. The Defiant flies off so Sisko can protect his girlfriend. The Klingon led by a Captain Dyer is really trying to kind of push, and Sisko's like, nah, bitch, you're backing down. And the Klingon ship backs down, and then Martok kills him and sends his bloody knife to Sisko as a present. Things are a bit tense between the Federation and the Klingons, and so Sisko goes, what we need a guy. We need a guy to get on the inside. We need an inside guy. So I'm gonna phone Worf, who is like hanging out on this monastery planet after the Enterprise's destruction by Malcolm McDowell. And so he brings Worf on. Worf is still wearing his old TNG uniform, so he immediately sticks out. O'Brien is happy to see him. O'Brien is introducing him to members of the cast. Dax immediately meets Worf and wants a slice of that Klingon. And that's fine. Worf basically starts then doing a reenactment of the game Shenmue, where he goes to different Klingons and asks questions and tries to get them to decipher the Chinese writing and asks them repeatedly for games of Lucky Hit.
Wow.
And he finds out the horrible truth. the Klingons believe the Klingons have discovered that Cardassia has had a civilian uprising and democracy has been restored to the people, and
Hooray!
also Gul Dukat.
Oh.
But Martok and the Klingon and Gowron believes that it's actually the Dominion have infiltrated with shapeshifters and just been, doing, kind of CIA shady black ops shit. Oh dear. And Odo's like, yeah, this seems legit. This could be possible. And the Klingons are going to do what the Klingons are naturally inclined to do, which is, hell, if the Dominion have taken over the Cardassian Empire, we should take over the Cardassian Empire, and thus protecting the Alpha Quadrant, a plan with no drawbacks except the fact there's all the drawbacks because the Federation also keep all their stuff in the Alpha Quadrant, and the Federation the Federation don't tend to go in for such blatant regime change for less than dubious reasons. Worf is feeling that, like, a lot of Klingons have been upset that they've been at peace too long, and they want to return to the old ways and make Qo'noS great again.
Oh God!
Not actually you. And then another Klingon ship turns up, and it's got this starry-eyed maniac on it. Is it Ernest Borgnine? No, it's Gowron, who clearly looks like he's rabid and has mange.
Yes!
And probably drools a lot. Gowron takes Worf on his ship, and Worf is like, and Gowron goes, "Hey, leave Starfleet. Come back to the Klingons. We're gonna shit kick all those Cardassians, and it's gonna be awesome." And Worf's like, "No. As much as I'm a fan of shit kicking, I believe that, there is a time and a place to shit kick, and this ain't it, bruh." And Gowron's like, "Worf, you disappoint me. Go now, because whatever's left, you will not be part of this." Via Garak's contacts still in Cardassian space, Sisko is able to break the Federation, is able to go behind the Federation and let the Cardassians know that the Klingons are coming, and which is a violation of the peace accords with the Klingons, who have now just taken the Khitomer Accords of peace between the Federation and the Klingons, ripped them up, shut them in the bin. So the Klingons are on their way to being the big bads once again. The Cardassian Civilian Council leaves on a ship, and the Federation and everyone gets on a Defiant and books it for Cardassian space to save a bunch of hopefully democratically elected public civilian officials. Yay! And Gul Dukat. Boo!
Either your time's up or Gul Dukat's trying to silence you right now.
God damn it, probably
Sorry,
both.
friend of the show, Gul Dukat.
But noted friend, Gul Dukat.
Okay, well, good luck trying to get the rest of us in before the Cardassians get you.
Okay, the Defiant cloaks and flies off into Cardassian space, where they find the ship with the Council on being attacked by a bunch of Klingons. The Defiant decloaks and starts doing warning shots and just doing minor damage on the Klingon ship. But the Klingon ships, they're not playing around. They're gonna kill some Federation officers if they can help it. The Cardassians lower the shields, and they have to load the shields on the Defiant so they can get everyone beamed aboard from one ship to the other before it explodes. I played this mission in Wing Command. This is an escort mission. This sucks because Maniac never does what I order him to do. God damn it, Maniac. But enough about Wing Commander, one of my favorite game franchises of all time. They get the Cardassians on board and Gul Dukat, and they're all blood screened. The Defiant warps away with a bunch of Federation ships behind. Gul Dukat storms onto the bridge, and at no point does he say thank you. Instead, he complains that he's being escorted at gunpoint. There was a great bit when Bashir just does a season 4 Bashir bit and tells just Gul Dukat just how just morally reprehensible he finds him. Good on you, Julian. Dax is now going to get free dinner from Sisko because she and Sisko did a bet on whether or not Dukat would thank or complain first. They're trying to make it to DS9 before the Klingon ships following them can beat them to it. The Federation is just a short while away. They won't make it in time. More and more Klingon ships are arriving at DS9, ready for a shit kick fest. The Defiant makes it back. Everyone's evacuated. Everyone's getting ready for the big fight. Odo's ready to tangle with some Klingons, even though Bashir points out all the Klingons are going to want to tangle with Odo. Odo's fine with this. Let him on. It turns out that they've been upgrading the station, and so the DS9 unleashes a shit ton of photon torpedoes. Thousands of them. And so we get a big battle in space. Meanwhile, as the DS9 is holding their own, Klingons start beaming aboard, and everyone immediately starts going into some kung fu fighting and just starts beating off Klingons left, right, and center. Kira gets stabbed in the gut, but makes sure to take out the Klingon who stabbed her, because Kira Nerys is just that naturally badass.
Hell yeah.
Everyone's fighting the Klingons. The DS9 crew are holding their own, but there's just too many Klingons. They keep beaming on board. They're not going to make it. It's going to be war of attrition. And then the Federation arrives. We're told about it, but we don't see them. And the Klingons just go, well, we're out of here. We've done well. We've upset the status quo of the entire Alpha Quadrant. Okay, thanks. Bye. Worf is, after the battle, Worf is thinking of quitting because, once more he's been forced to choose between his people and his homeland, or rather, his people and and his uniform, and he's been forced to choose his uniform once again, and kind of just doesn't want to do it for a fifth time at this point. So he wants to quit. Sisko admits to Worf that he was thinking of quitting before coming to DS9, but he was able to find a new life for himself, and maybe Worf can too. And so Worf joins the cast, and he's been upgraded to a red uniform in the new proper DS9 uniform fashion, and he's going to be the strategic officer for Deep Space Nine, who now have a bit of a Klingon problem, because while the Klingon Empire has let go of the Cardassian homeworld, some of the colonies they occupied are still under Klingon control. And so the Klingons are the bad guys once again, as Gowron has rediscovered the way of the warrior.
Ooh. Wow. Oh, I love Gowron. That was 4 minutes and 44 seconds over. So, Gowron. I know this is a Worf episode, and I have a Gowron episode planned, but...
Of course you do.
Gowron, what a joy. What an utter joy he was. He felt like half the time he was like a feral cat, and half the time he was like a drunk aunt at a wedding. Both the violence and the kind of, hey, my friend, no, fuck you all, kind of.
He kind of reminds me of Vivian from The Young Ones.
Yes.
Only less psychotic.
Yeah. I remember when he first appeared here, I did message you, go, is he drunk already? Like, he's been drinking this entire mission, hasn't he? And it shows, and that was a joy to watch.
Yes. Gowron, I don't know how much that is a makeup job, or just the guy who plays Gowron is just one of those actors who can make his eyes consume 70% of his own head.
Oh,
it's really impressive.
They're magnificent eyes. Like, whenever you see that mad stare, you know you're in for a good time.
Oh yeah, I think doing the show, and then kind of I think it was when we did House of Quark, when we basically realized that Klingons are basically doing Shakespeare all the time.
Yeah,
I think that made me love them even more. Or just I never really they're fun. Okay, they're a bit one note, which I feel as in terms of as a writer feels like, no, why would a race have just a singular monoculture? when I realized that they're all just this race of gigantic fucking hams. Like they're a race of people who each one wants to be Brian Blessed, and I can admire that.
Definitely. You said earlier about how Bill Bailey looks like Conmel from TNG, and I think he would do well with the Klingons. You know, I think he'd definitely be of a certain vibe with them. But you know,
they're shit. They're aggressive metalheads.
Well, yeah. Look, you look at people like Christopher Lloyd, who we'll be seeing soon in one of the upcoming films. But yeah, again, perfect Shakespeare, also quite ludicrous.
Yeah, and also, if I remember, he has also very intense staring. Christopher Lloyd has perfect Klingon eyes, so it was great casting they got for him.
Yeah, so getting it back on track slightly, Worf. I remember my brother and I, we speak about Star Trek occasionally. He made the theme tune to this, and
Take that cheese to sick bay.
Yeah, he and my father saw a ton of this while they were staying together while I was in hospital for a time. They saw a load of the older Star Treks, and that's where, in a way, sometimes it feels like catching up with what they saw back in the day.
Yeah.
And he and I have spoken about Worf and gone like, yeah, he felt like a bit of a vacuum compared to the wildness and the weirdness of a lot of the DS9 people, and how it felt out of the blue with him and Jadzia. But as you said in the recap, actually, she's kind of down for a bit of Worf right at the start with this, and like she and Kira are playing a like Arthurian mythology on the Hollow Suites. So it is an awkward meeting, and that just makes it better.
Yeah, they definitely play up his relationship with O'Brien.
Yeah.
Because obviously O'Brien was also a TNG alumni.
Oh, it's so nice seeing O'Brien showing a friend round.
O'Brien showing his mate. Like O'Brien has a pint.
Yes.
Like at one point, O'Brien has a proper pint in a proper pint mug, and I like to think that Cole Meany was like, I will have my hollow beer in nothing less than I will bring in my own pint glass for orphaned. When and they're showing him darts.
Yes. Yeah, which again, he is very much the straight man of any of these kind of situations. And it's like, whatever with the darts, but in a way, Julian and O'Brien both being able to go, come on, mate, look, we'll try. I have a friend who was a massive Trekkie, Ash, who getting him out of that space, like he was very much for Worf in that respect, where sometimes you drag him along to a thing and go, oh no, he is just standing quietly in the corner. And sometimes you drag him along and it'd be like, oh, we've found the thing. We've found the thing he likes. And it was such a joy whenever you'd get that moment. And you get that kind of sense of like, okay, we'll frame it in words you get, Worf.
Yeah.
With some of this. So yeah, I'm curious to see more Worf episodes of DS9 after watching this, because this was a good Worf dealing with Klingon bullshit episode, and this is one of those rare joyous moments where the DS9 showrunners get to make big sweeping changes, because this was a show aiming for syndication, which meant you kind of had to put everything back at the end of every episode.
Yeah.
And any changes like this, you couldn't guarantee that you'd watch these episodes and the next episode with how channels would run.
They'd been doing slow pieces here and there, but it's still only been things that if you miss an episode or you watch out of order, that you're not going to get too lost. Like, it's not like, it hasn't been, say, like a Babylon 5, when it hits like a point in seasons 2 and 3 where every 5 episodes there's been like a huge sweeping change to the status quo of the galaxy, which then goes on to have like huge ramifications down the line. And this was, I think Voyager had started at this point, but this is after like TNG's done.
Yeah.
It's in movie territory.
Yeah,
so
Generation
this is
done and referenced here as well.
Yeah. So this is now like the big show. We're gonna go for it. We're gonna go for a big drama. Everything in this episode is big in the way that the Emissary is not.
Yeah.
Like, Emissary is very much more a character piece, and this really, I think, is relaunching DS9 into what DS9 is going to become from here on out, which is the big war drama.
Yeah, it's kind of event comic territory. Like, people
Yeah.
get little moments, but we don't see a lot of them aside from our focal character here with Worf. That said, the introduction with Odo, that was a nice start.
That was great when they're both like, okay, we're not going to be friends.
The like Odo's training exercise was fascinating, of seeing seeing him do basically a Red Dwarf polymorph kind of situation with it all. That was good fun. And yeah, like we started in media res again. With this one, we mentioned I think a couple episodes ago about how it was kind of refreshing getting we're starting at the start of a drama, and for these 2 episodes actually, like the other one is we're at the neutral zone, a battle's taken place.
Yeah.
But it felt like we didn't need a slow build to that. And with this, we're right into let's fuck around, let's do this. So yeah, that's been cool to see. Yeah.
Like
also, for shape-shifting with the glass, I've been reading Brian K. Vaughan of Lost fame's Mystique ongoing series recently. And there's a panel where she's showing off how she can make glasses and a fake vial and stuff like that with her shape-shifting powers. And yeah, that made me think of this scene here with Odo and the filling up glass trick.
I have a question for you about Bashir, who I think is your least favorite DS9 character.
Oh, I talk a lot of trash about him. He is quite easily one of my absolute favorites. I love Bashir. He is rubbish.
How do you feel about him, like, in this episode where you have the parts where he's trying to be like the man of action in like the hunt, but then you get the point where he just talks back and talks down to Dukat.
We're a few seasons in, and while I've not seen episode by episode all of the build up, him growing a bit of a spine with this far in, it makes sense for even a character like him, who can seem like a bit of a goof sometimes, would go, no mate, like you've not paid respect for us saving you. You know, I know he has more serious tortured things, and I think that's where my interest might drop a bit with him, but yeah, I buy it.
Yeah, like this is one I've seen a few times because it's a two-parter. There's a lot of action. Oh, second bit of time, I'm going to mention Babylon 5 in this episode.
Oh god,
the red-headed security officer on the Defiant, who gets killed almost immediately, is Patricia Tolman, who plays the telepath Lita Alexander.
Oh shit!
At several points through Babylon 5, she turns up in the pilot.
Yep.
She's dropped, doesn't turn up until like late season 2, and then becomes a full-on cast regular by season 4.
Yeah, she was great.
She was also she's also I think she's also a stunt woman, so she's done stunt work, and she's done some bits in TNG playing security officers. But here she gets to play that my favorite TNG DS9 era side character, which is person who gets killed by a random console explosion.
Oh man, they've got to stop loading those consoles with whatever they're packing them with. Like, it's an impressive feat to see, but how many people have died to exploding consoles? I feel maybe some sort of foundation needs to start.
Every year, 600 Starfleet officers needlessly meet their deaths at the hands of exploding consoles. And with just your small donation to our Ko-fi fund, you too can help prevent needless console explosion deaths.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I this is a bit of a tangent, but it's still Worf related. How have we managed to get to this episode talking about Worf, and at no point have mentioned the bromance between Worf and Wolverine in the 2 Star Trek Next Generation X-Men crossover, both comic and tie-in novel?
So I've bought but haven't actually read the novel yet. But yeah, it's one day we should cover all of those in one thing. But yeah, like you can see it. Like, of course these two would bro out. Like Worf, who knows? Maybe he might let his guard down and have a beer or something with Logan. You know, go fine, okay. You know, I'll put the prune juice away. What the fuck's up with the prune juice, by the way?
I think Whoopi Goldberg introduces it to him in TNG, and when Whoopi Goldberg says, "This is your drink," you say, "Yes, miss. This is my drink now."
I guess so, space mystic Whoopi Goldberg. If anyone tells me, I guess it's you. Fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I more than likely, it probably keeps Worf regular. He looks like a guy who needs a high fiber diet.
Yes. So, Miles, I feel like this is one we're scrolling the fuck up the list for.
Yeah.
Like, it's good. It does have...
Did you enjoy... I think this is one of our first proper... Like, I think this is where Star Trek starts doing proper space battles. Like, with ships, when we see ships moving, and not just a guy standing at a console going, "Yep, they've broken through the 3rd defensive line again. They're rallying. We can't afford to show it." Where this was, we're going to have ships flying through space. We're going to have the Defiant weaving and diving. We're going to show shit explode.
It's alright. I have a confession to make.
What?
I'm not a massive space battles guy. It's
Oh,
fine
man.
in Star Trek, where it's like Star Wars, where it's like fighter planes in space. But here, you know, where it's for slow moving objects, never minded that. That's been fine. I've not gone, oh, I need these to whirl around and shoot everything. It was fine. I like the drama more than I like the shooty with it. But yeah, it's a good thing. Like, it's an evolution that was going to happen, and I'm pleased they did that rather than, you know, suddenly make a galaxy class ship whirl around all dramatic like.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying when they show a galaxy class starship just kind of fly around like momentum doesn't exist, and you can do a quick Yui on with 2 seconds notice on a ship that bloody big. Hello, Picard season 3. How you doing?
Oh, we'll get back to you. Anyway, on that note, are we is this one that's going to break the top 10?
I have been thinking it.
Yeah. I was looking at House of Quark originally and going, that's in spot number 6. And I think this is probably better than House of Quark, which is, you know, I like hijinks, and it's got some hijinks. It's got some Klingon bullshit. It's fine. It's good fun. You know, we had a real good time with it, but I think this might be a bit more important than Quark getting into a fiasco situation.
This is big epic space opera.
Yeah.
Like this, Star Trek is space opera, but it never goes kind of epic scale. it
Yes.
never goes like it never really goes fully Dune or Babylon 5, where you're juggling the fates of countless of like races and empires and all different social stratas in between.
I mean,
You've got like
Discovery season 2 would like to argue that, but aside from that, like with those kind of Red Angel, oh my god, or Discovery season 4, like there are way too many universe destroying things, which I think
yeah,
push Discovery into being slightly less beloved by me, compared to other shows that didn't
like
need to do that.
I think the most epic like TNG gets, I think there's like a Klingon Civil War kind of storyline thing, but like I think like the most epic it gets is when the Borg come into play and the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
When Picard gets assimilated, but still you've got epic stakes, but it's still mostly focused on the Enterprise. You're not having this big galaxy spanning, like, we're going on a rescue mission to save the politicians, we're coming back, we're gonna have a big battle. Like the lines of conflict between the Federation and the Klingons will be redrawn, and nothing will ever be the same again. Charlie,
Ooh,
how many
yes.
times have you heard that phrase in your life?
Oh my god! So I'm a comic reader. I've been a regular weekly comic reader since mid 1993. I have heard it so much I've become completely deadened.
Okay, so one last question before we actually get back properly to the big list.
Oh
If
yeah.
Way of the Warrior was a yearly like comic book event, who would have been the character who gets needlessly killed off for pointless shock value?
I mean, I think we'd get the fake out for, oh, is it going to be Kira? Because she's a good combatant. She's a person that would be good in this situation. So stabbing her would put them at like bad footing. I think I think it probably would be Bashir. Like,
Yeah,
it probably should be Bashir. Again, a character I love. Like, I'm a big fan of Alexander Siddig, and I do love Bashir, but I think it'd be one of those, oh no, the innocent one here. The naive child, the moon calf, has died, and now the age of innocence is over.
no, he would be trying to save someone's life and then get stabbed in the back.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Like, yeah,
Like, as a Klingon beams in, it's like, oh no, they're here.
yeah,
Realize I'm waving a knife around
a
as we
knife, a butter
record.
knife.
Which no, it's,
Oh, oh, no, it's got a point on it. I
it was
take it
smuggled
back.
from Crete again around 92, 93. It's completely dull as a blade, and I've found it's quite satisfying to fiddle with and hold.
Oh,
And luckily, it can't cut anything because it's
that's
rubber.
good.
But it's got a little etching of Crete on the
Ooh,
side.
very
Um,
nice.
but yeah, I feel the Klingons would approve.
Yeah. So yeah, in like the big comic book event, which is Way of the Warrior, Bashir is getting a batleth in the back.
Almost certainly. Like, you couldn't really do Quark or Odo because they're
No,
for like station boys.
yeah,
Yeah, maybe
like
wrong.
Jeff Johns would probably, if Jeff Johns were writing it, O'Brien would probably lose an arm.
Definitely rip that sucker right out. Worf would save him because he's the new hotness.
Yeah,
And he's a
but
legacy character as well.
but
Which
no,
Jeff
but the
Johns
thing is,
would
if Kira gets killed off, then Worf replaces her spot in the team.
oh shit, there is that. Oh dear. Yeah.
And
Anyway,
I guess Cisco and Worf have to fight in the holodeck to see who's leader
at some point,
at,
yeah.
at some point. And Worf and Cisco loses his special ruby quartz glasses,
Oh.
and he throws the fight.
Well, yeah. I mean, Cisco would have to still be in charge.
Yeah, the
Okay.
new emboldened Cisco.
So on that note, I feel actually pretty confident in my first instinct here of going, I think it's better than House of Quark, which
Yup.
I feel in a way House of Quark's got away with a lot because there are a lot of good episodes above and below it. It's possibly been a bit too favorably ranked, given it was one of the first actual episodes we ranked. It is good. It is a very good one, but I think this is a better one than that.
Yeah.
I think Cause and Effect might be better because I love that time loop bullshit.
Like Cause and Effect is a good SS is a
Yeah, it's
it's a
weird.
good SF story.
Like, this is big, portentous drama. I kind of prefer the weird space bullshit.
Yeah, because I think because we got like 3 episodes, we got 3 separate DS9 episodes, actually 4.
Oh my god!
Because we've got Emissary number 2, we've got the House of Quark, and we've got Trials and Tribulations.
Yeah,
and I definitely think with Way of the Warrior, would have covered all the bases of what makes DS9 kind of work.
Yeah, what
makes it such a beloved show.
Hang on, are you saying Move Along Home isn't the reason?
You can shove that Alan Moraine right up your ass.
Oh, I still love that Lower Decks did that. I choose to believe they did that just for us.
Oh yes, and the cheese.
Yes. Yeah.
You do realize that the Moopsy episode of Lower Decks, when we get to it, will be in the top 10.
Oh, it feels like it could be a top hitter, yeah.
Because I don't know how well Moopsy has gone down in your household, but Moopsy has gone down very well. In mine.
I'm the only one that's made it this far through Lower Decks, but yeah, Moopsy, I could see. My partner is a massive, massive fan of Gengar.
Okay.
Moopsy has a lot of that kind of energy.
When I was watching it, like I had to stop when Moopsy turned up. I was like, "Well, I know what Rihanna's favorite episode's gonna be," and I was right.
Of course, yes, rightfully so.
Moopsy is a small, adorable, psychotic Pokemon that waddles.
Yes.
All right, so yeah, I'm gonna go with it's our new number 6.
Nice. Wow, an incredibly quick figuring out and placement there. Yeah, that is fantastic, and a new entry in our top 10. Oh, that's something that's getting rarer and rarer, given we've got 76 whole episodes now on our list, and yeah, some interesting contenders, and definitely for me, an interesting view of Worf, given we've not had much. I realised we did a Klingon episode of Casual Trek. Didn't really cover any.
We do any Worf, no.
Yeah. So yeah, we will return to Worf and to Klingons, of course, especially once I get my hour on Gowron sorted. Yeah, that's what I called it in the sheet as well. And yeah, so with that, all we have to do is play us out. So you can find us on the Nerd and Tie site, the Nerd and Tie Discord, and on Ko-fi, where you can always bung us a little bit of money, and we will cover an episode, a theme, a character, whatever. We will build an episode of Casual Trek around it. And yeah. As far as me, you can find me at fakestales.com, where I talk about indie RPGs, and I am about to flood my channel with a bunch of things that I put in drafts where I completely forgot to publish them about all the RPGs I've read this year. So I'm sorry to any people that follow me for not RPG content on there. Also, I'm at skyshark.itch.io for comics and RPG things, and Blue Sky as Sky Shark. Yeah. And what about you, Mars?
Well, you can find me on Blue Sky at Miles. Hang on. On milesreedlabato.bluesky.social. You can follow our Casual Trek Blue Sky account at casualtrek.bluesky.social. You can find me on my blog at mareedlabato.wordpress.com. Yeah, that is me for right now.
So next time we are actually doing another timely episode, as it's going to be airing the day before Halloween. So we get to delve into one of my favorite genres with a little bit of horror.
Ooh.
Exactly. Yes. So, yeah, with that in mind,
Kapla.
go do like good, honourable Klingon things. Don't be like those jerks in the first one.
Kapla and have a jelly baby.
Yes. I assume it'd be made with like blood or something for them.
A blood wine.
Oh, blood wine jelly baby.
Yeah, that'd be more like a wine gum, I think.
Yeah, blood wine.
Yeah.
Gum. There you
Yeah.
go. Have a blood
There we
wine.
go.
Gum. You've been listening to Casual Trek by Charlie Etheridge Nunn and Miles Reed Lobato. Music by Alfred Etheridge Nunn. Casual Trek's part of the Nerd and Tie network, and if you want to support us monetarily because you love what we do that much, you can now do that by going to Ko-fi and looking up Casual Trek. There's a link in the show notes.